Welcome back to Disturbed Reality. Private military companies, or PMCs, are private organizations that provide military services to governments, non-governmental organizations, and corporations. These private companies have become an increasingly important part of the modern military landscape, and they play a crucial role in many of the conflicts that are currently taking place around the world. The history of private military companies can be traced back to ancient times, where mercenaries were hired to fight wars on behalf of powerful individuals or groups. These mercenaries were often soldiers who had fought in wars or who had military training, and they were paid to fight in battles. In the modern era, private military companies emerged in the 1960s and 1970s, primarily in Africa, where they were hired to provide security and protection for multinational corporations. During the 1990s and early 2000s, PMCs became more prominent in conflicts around the world, and they played a significant role in the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. Private military companies have become an essential part of modern conflicts, and they are often used by governments to supplement their military forces. PMCs can provide a range of services, including combat support, logistical support, training, intelligence gathering, and also security services. They can also provide specialized services such as air support, medical support, and even intelligence analysis. In many cases, PMCs are used to carry out tasks that are too dangerous or sensitive for regular military forces, such as covert operations, counter-terrorism, and intelligence gathering. One of the main advantages of using private military companies is that they can be more cost-effective than regular military forces. PMCs are often staffed by former military personnel who have extensive training and experience, and they can be hired on short-term contracts, which can be more affordable than maintaining a standing military force. PMCs can also be more flexible than regular military forces, as they can be rapidly deployed to areas where there is a need for such military support. However, the use of private military companies has also raised a range of ethical issues. One of the main concerns is that PMCs are not subject to the same level of oversight and accountability as regular military forces. PMCs are often hired by governments or corporations which may have different priorities and objectives than regular military forces. This can lead to situations where PMCs are used to carry out actions that are not in the best interests of the local population or the broader international community. Additionally, PMCs may not be subject to the same rules of engagement as regular military forces, which can lead to human rights abuses and other violations. Another ethical concern associated with the use of private military companies is the potential for PMCs to exacerbate conflicts or to even create new ones. PMCs may be hired by one party in a conflict, which can lead to a situation where they are seen as taking sides in the conflict. This, of course, can lead to further violence and instability, and can make it more difficult to find a peaceful resolution to the conflict. In conclusion, private military companies have become an increasingly important part of modern conflicts, and they play a significant role in many of the world's most complex battlegrounds. While they can provide valuable services such as combat support, intelligence gathering, and logistical support, the use of PMCs, again, raises a range of ethical issues. It is essential that PMCs are subject to the same level of oversight and accountability as regular military forces, and that their use is carefully monitored to ensure that they are being used in ways that are in the best interests of the local population and the broader international community. The reality is, however, given the nature of war, such groups are often used to conduct operations that violate human rights laws, and very often, such organisations are harder to prosecute due to the covert nature in which they operate. Some would also suggest that such groups are also protected by the powers that be, and despite potential war crimes, they are given carte blanche to carry out heinous crimes along the way to achieving an objective. If a PMC group is caught perpetrating such horrific acts, governments can merely deny links to them, stating that they are private companies and operate on their own accord. Notably, the topic of private military companies has been mainstream due to the Wagner Group's presence in Ukraine. The Wagner Group, of course, being Russia's largest and most notorious PMC group. American war efforts have also been intrinsically linked to the use of private military companies. This was brought to light in particular during the infamous and fraudulent War on Terror, wars in which cost the lives of millions based on lies, deception, control, and greed. I would love to say more, however, unfortunately, mainstream social media platforms tend not to like differing opinions. Blackwater is a private military company that was contracted by the United States government to provide security services during the Iraq War. In 2007, Blackwater were involved in a series of incidents that resulted in the deaths of Iraqi civilians and raised questions about the company's tactics and accountability. One of the most well-known incidents occurred on the 16th of September 2007 when Blackwater personnel opened fire in Nisour Square in Baghdad, killing 17 Iraqi civilians and injuring 20 others. The incident sparked outrage in Iraq and the United States and led to an FBI investigation and criminal charges against several Blackwater employees. In 2014, 4 former Blackwater employees were found guilty of charges including first-degree murder, voluntary manslaughter, and attempted manslaughter in connection with the Nisour Square incidents. One of the men was sentenced to life in prison, while others received lengthy prison sentences. In addition to the Nisour Square incident, Blackwater personnel were also accused of involvement in several other incidents that resulted in civilian deaths. These included the killing of a guard for an Iraqi vice president in 2006 and the shooting of an Iraqi journalist in 2007. The incidents involving Blackwater personnel sparked a broader debate about the use of private military contractors in conflict zones, and raised questions about the accountability of these contractors for their actions. The Blackwater cases also highlighted the challenges of holding private military contractors accountable under US and international law, and underscored the need for improved oversight and regulations of these companies. In regards to the Wagner Group, although they have only very recently made mainstream headlines, they have been operating for the best part of a decade. The Wagner Group is a private military company based in Russia, led and funded by Yevgeny Prigozhin, also known as Putin's chef. The group first emerged in 2014 during the annexation of Crimea, when Russian military intervention was deemed necessary. Wagner's primary objective was to supply mercenaries to support Russian interests in Ukraine without drawing any official attention or accountability. Since then, the group has become increasingly involved in conflicts worldwide, including Syria, Libya, and the Central African Republic. The organisation has been best known for its brutal tactics and has been accused of committing various human rights abuses. Despite the group's secretive nature and murky origins, it is widely believed to have close ties to the Russian government and has been linked to the Kremlin's efforts to expand its influence and project power beyond its borders. In Syria, the group has been accused of carrying out indiscriminate bombings, using chemical weapons, and torturing prisoners. In Libya, the Wagner Group has been accused of supporting warlord Khalifa Haftar and carrying out airstrikes against civilian targets. And in the Central African Republic, the group has been accused of committing atrocities against civilians, including murder and rape. The Wagner Group has also been implicated in the conflict in eastern Ukraine, where it has been accused of supplying weapons to separatist rebels and engaging in combat operations. The group's actions have been widely condemned by human rights organizations and the international community, but Russia has denied any involvement in the Wagner Group's activities. Fighters from Yevgeny Prigozhin's Wagner Group have a particular history of executing members of opposition forces as well as their own troops. In the Syrian war, members of the Kremlin-linked private military firm were filmed beating a prisoner with a sledgehammer before beheading him and then amputating his arms with a sapper's trowel. It's a case in which I have covered on the channel, for those who are interested. Since the beginning of the conflict in Ukraine, several videos have emerged online that shows Wagner Group troops executing deserters with a sledgehammer, the sledgehammer becoming a logo of their brutality. Battleground footage from the Wagner Group has also been uploaded to social media apps such as Telegram. One Telegram channel by the name of Grey Zone is thought to be run by the group itself, and graphic footage has been posted to the channel in recent months. The Wagner Group has been known to make use of social media in various ways. One of the most notable examples is their use of social media to spread disinformation and propaganda. This includes creating fake accounts and pages to promote their own agenda, as well as spreading false information to sow confusion and distrust among their adversaries. In addition to this, the Wagner Group has also been known to use social media for recruitment purposes. They have used platforms like VK and Instagram to target young men with military backgrounds or interests, and to entice them with the promises of adventure and high pay. Overall, the Wagner Group's use of social media is a reflection of their larger strategy of using asymmetrical warfare tactics to achieve their goals. By leveraging the power of social media, they are able to project their influence far beyond the battlefield and into the minds of people all around the world. In regards to graphic content, the Wagner Group have hit headlines in recent months. At first, during the fall of 2022, a grisly video was released depicting the execution of an alleged ex-Wagner Group member who was accused of being a traitor. He was killed with sledgehammer blows to the head. Early in 2023, another similar video was released, purporting to show another sledgehammer execution of a Wagner traitor. However, the second video is believed to have been faked. On April the 13th, 2023, a gruesome battleground execution video made the rounds on social media, in particular on Twitter. Initially, the video was uploaded to Telegram, some say on the Grey Zone channel, before finding its way online. The video allegedly depicts Wagner fighters murdering a prisoner of war. There has been speculation online that the video was filmed near the city of Kreminna in eastern Ukraine, though these rumours have not been confirmed. Other social media comments have also suggested that the video was filmed near Bakhmut. It also remains unclear when the footage was filmed. Many assume that the murder was recent. However, it is more than likely that the video may have been filmed in late spring or summer of last year. Exiled Russian journalist Vladimir Oshukin says that Andrei Medvedev, a former Wagner Group commander who sought asylum in Norway, told him after watching the video that he could recognize the perpetrators as Wagner fighters. A quote from Vladimir Oshukin states, "He says he can unambiguously identify his former Wagner colleagues by their characteristic call signs and by how they talk." The Kremlin commented on the video, stating that it was awful, but its authenticity had to be checked, as well as those who were behind it. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said that in the world of fakes that we inhabit, we need to check the veracity of this footage. Another separate video, allegedly filmed by Wagner fighters, purporting to show the bodies of two beheaded soldiers, has also been circulating on social media in recent days. The video shows what appears to be a destroyed M113 armoured personnel carrier. The man filming the scene says that it had driven over a mine. At least two bodies can be seen without heads and hands laying on the ground nearby. Wagner Group funder Yevgeny Prigozhin has put out a statement saying that he has not found any evidence that the events in the videos had happened near Bakhmut or Kreminna or involved Wagner fighters. But nevertheless, what happens in the actual video? The video itself is 1 minute and 40 seconds long. The grainy and extremely graphic video appears to have been filmed on a mobile phone. It shows a man in military uniform wearing a yellow armband, frequently worn as identifying symbols by Ukrainian soldiers. The perpetrator and other men visible in the clip have white bands on their legs, which some Russian soldiers are known to wear as a means of identification. The video is shot during the day in a forest-type location. Looking at the foliage, it looks like the video was shot during spring or summer. Naturally, when such a video is released, many of you guys get in touch, recommending that I cover the case. One subscriber, shout out to Ibrahim, gave the video the tag as the modern-day Chechclear. The tag sums up the video well. Much like Chechclear, the video perfectly encapsulates the brutality and ruthlessness of war. Much like Chechclear, as of right now, the victim has not been identified, which signifies the reality of war. We are merely just numbers and statistics, and given the situation, our leaders would be more than willing to treat us as such. Members of Wagner Telegram groups, such as Grey Zone, commented that this video would not be the last of its kind, and more are expected to be released in the coming months. As you play the video, the brutality ensues immediately. You hear screaming and pleading from the victim, who has been pinned to the ground by an alleged Wagner soldier. The victim struggles on the ground as he lets out high-pitched screams while begging for mercy. You see blood around the victim's neck and on the ground, and the fighter holding down the victim is carrying a small knife. Behind the camera, two of his colleagues cheer the killer as they chant and laugh. I obviously can't speak Russian or Ukrainian, but it sounds like the victim screams "Voila" repeatedly. If you know what this means, please let me know. The executioner wrestles with the victim for a few seconds before he manages to place the blade under his chin before cutting into the victim's throat, which immediately stops the screaming and pleading. The knife is razor sharp and cuts through the flesh and windpipe extremely quickly. The screams turn into faint wheezing noises. The killer then cuts all of the flesh around the victim's neck from front to back, essentially trying to cut around the spine. At this point, a pool of blood collects on the ground. While the killer is slicing the flesh around the victim's spine, another Wagner fighter then picks up the victim's combat vest, holding it up to the camera. Once all of the flesh has been cut around the spine, the executioner then struggles to cut through the spinal cord. This draws comments from his colleagues, with one stating, "Get working, brother, break his spine." One also says in a mocking tone, "Have you never cut off a head before?" Throughout the video, distant gunshots can be heard intermittently in the background. Somebody on a radio can also be heard towards the end of the clip. The executioner begins to try to essentially stab through the victim's spine with the tip of the blade, which makes a cracking sound. He then once again tries to cut through the spine, pushing the blade down hard, which eventually severs the spinal cord. The killer then picks up the decapitated head and holds it up to the camera, much like we see in ISIS and cartel videos. The video is grim, sad, and I would recommend that you avoid it. Throughout mid-April, it was shared all over Twitter by big verified accounts. It's rare for so-called gore videos to make mainstream headlines, but this is one such case. I do wish I could delve into the topic of the current situation in much more depth. However, my hands are tied in regards to what I can say. All I hope for, however, is that the bloodshed is ended as soon as possible, which, for whatever reason, seems to be a controversial opinion. But anyway, that is the video. I hope you enjoyed it, if you can enjoy this sort of content. I have to say, it's tough covering such cases because, as I mentioned earlier, my hands are somewhat tied in regards to what I can say with YouTube, but, you know, that's what we have to deal with in 2023. It is what it is. But anyway, as always, thank you guys for the support, it is much appreciated. If you are interested in following me on Twitter, check out the link in the pinned comment. You can also DM me if you have any topic ideas, and please also feel free to follow me on Twitch, where we live stream usually once a week, but sometimes more. We always go live after the video's premiere on Friday, so if you could check it out, it would be much appreciated. I've actually been having quite a lot of fun on Twitch recently, so if you could drop by, that would be great. But anyway, as always, stay safe, and I'll catch you on the next one.